Welcome to Founder Tactics, a podcast about entrepreneurs and the communities that shape them. I am your host, Julia Lucidi, and today I'm going to be talking about community building. So this is not an interview, it's going to be a conversation, me and you, and I'm going to be talking about the role of students in developing stronger tech communities. One of the biggest issues that emerging tech communities face is talent leakage. What this means is that as students graduate from college, the local market can be growing a lot, but it may not be as mature as other markets. So perhaps here in Miami, students may be leaving the university, leaving the college system, and they might look to New York, they might look to California, they might look to Austin, Texas. They may look to other more mature tech markets to look for a job. And that's actually a really big problem because it doesn't retain that talent here locally. And so I have found through my community building efforts here in Fort Lauderdale a tremendous opportunity to engage students early and some of the benefits that brings both to the students, exposing them to the tech community, and to us community builders as a way to leverage their enthusiasm and their willingness to work for our needs as a company and as a business. I hope you enjoyed this short podcast on community building in the student body. Let me know your thoughts and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to help us continue growing. Let's dive in. All right, you guys, welcome to the conversation. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about how do we retain talent in emerging tech communities. So South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, it's an emerging tech hub. And so this means that a lot of really interesting activities and organizations are establishing themselves here. Everything from really important accelerators and incubators and universities investing in the tech community to investors moving here from all around the world. And one of the biggest risks whenever tech communities are forming is what they call talent leakage. So this means that really exceptional talent may exist in that city, but because the tech community is not really fully mature, these really interesting talents end up being absorbed by other markets. And it's one of the biggest challenges that a tech community faces whenever they're trying to elevate and level up in the next level to become a stronger tech community. So for Miami to become something as strong as Silicon Valley or what we see in Cambridge, Boston, the Massachusetts area, it would need to fix its talent leakage issue. And what we see a lot of organizations doing here in South Florida is reinforcing students or programs that currently support students who have already expressed interest in the tech community in some way, shape, or form. Either these students are a part of an accelerator program or they're plugged in with the tech community. Now, South Florida has about 300,000 students as part of its university system when looking at Broward County and Miami-Dade. But if you look, those 300,000 students are not staying in South Florida. They're going to other places. And many of those, if not the majority of those students who are part of the South Florida university systems, they're not involved in the tech community. They don't know much about the tech community. So I invite you to think about your days when you were in college and the questions that you were asking yourself about your future. A lot of us were asking, what is my major? Is my major going to define my future? What opportunity might I have in the market? They may have heard of tech, but how much do they actually know about connecting with the tech community? There's a big gap. There's a big gap between college and entering the workforce. In the same way, there's a big gap between college and entering tech. It's no different. And so what I wanted to share is that, first of all, I think there's a lot of reinforcement and investment in like university incubators, university programs to support entrepreneurs, but you're already addressing a public that is already engaged with the tech community. So I think that the opportunity lies with the other, I don't know, let's say 290,000 students in the university system who are not yet engaged with tech, but are probably very willing if the opportunity is extended to them. And this is something that I've discovered in my community building process with the Fort Lauderdale Tech Meetup. So as the meetup started to grow, I would often get, people who were, mature professionals in the market offering to volunteer to help run the meetup because they were inspired by it. They were excited by it, excited that something was happening in Broward, and they wanted to be a part of it. And that has been really, really wonderful. But more recently, I was invited to do a panel at Broward College. And I went without any big expectations, but at the end of the panel, I extended an invitation to the students. And I said, we are looking for volunteers all the time. If you want to be helping us with social media, photography, setup, hospitality, welcoming folks, come talk to me and I'd be happy to work with you or give you an opportunity to volunteer at the Tech Meetup. Well, after my speech, 15 students lined up to be able to learn more, and they gave me their contact and they said, I want to volunteer. I want an opportunity to work with what you're working in. And so we started organizing these group of about 8 to 10 student volunteers who would come and be a part of the meetup. And one of them, who happened to be the student body president, he raised up to kind of manage these volunteers who are part of his community, right? They're in college, they're his age, he knows how to communicate with them well, and he knows how to engage them. And so he rose up to manage them and to engage them every single month, every time we have a meetup. And that was absolutely wonderful because it gave me the opportunity to invest in one student and allow for him to manage the rest while they show up and support the event, get experience and access to a community that they don't know much about. And what I found was as they showed up and they were very hesitant, a little bit afraid, unsure of what they would find, was that they were awesome at what they did. They showed up professionally dressed, ready to have this professional experience. And afterwards, I spoke to them and I asked them, what did you think about the meetup? And I got incredible feedback from them. They told me the meetup allowed for me to build professional confidence. I was so afraid to go. And when I went, I saw I was capable. I saw that you were there to support me, to reinforce me. And it helped me take this first step. And they also said things like, I saw people in the way they dress, the things they talk about, and they were even offered internships. And so look at all of these opportunities that started to stir up just because this student volunteer came to spend some time at the meetup. And I thought to myself, wow, this is really valuable for me as an event planner because I get to engage them with my community. And they also get to benefit because they're getting all of this exposure and opportunities that they didn't have before and no one was extending to them and they didn't even know where to go to find it. And so I took them all out to pizza 2 weeks after the event as a way to do a team building night to say thank you and to have a space with them where we could talk about questions that they might have about their career, about the meetup, what they thought about the meetup, how they benefited from it, or what we could do better, any ideas they had to contribute to it. And it was phenomenal to have that evening with them where I could pour back into them from a mentoring perspective. And it allowed for them to also air out questions like, man, I'm not really sure about my major. Is it bad if I switch majors? How much does this impact my career and what I'm building? It's all those questions that we also had when we were students in college that these college students also need answered. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's a simple answer, but it goes a really long way for us to stand up as a community and offer this kind of support back to students. And really what I'm presenting here is that if we invest in students earlier on in their journey as university students, as college students, we have a much greater likelihood of retaining this talent in Miami, in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, or whatever tech ecosystem is you're building out there. Because if we wait until they're graduated to then say, hey, retain a job here, like we want you to stay here, we're then competing with all of the other markets. But if we start building a relationship with these students when they're freshmen in college, sophomore in college, we're building a relationship that places us in a much higher advantage, both for us and for them, for us as a business community to retain this talent, and for them to start relationship building and start building their network at a much younger age and start getting those resume lines of different places where they have volunteered and contributed to. And so I think that that's a really powerful tool, the tool of volunteering that we're overlooking. And many times volunteers to events that I've been to, it's been the people who volunteer are folks who are already a part of the tech community, right? So they're mature professionals, I don't know, anywhere from 5 years of experience to 25 years of experience. But at the end of the day, who benefits the most out of that volunteer role? And I think it's important that we think about that volunteer role strategically. You know what I mean? Because if I get a seasoned professional to volunteer for the Fort Lauderdale Tech Meetup every month, it's very likely that that professional is going to have competing priorities. They might have a client they need to go see. They might have a project. It doesn't mean that much to them when you compare it to a student who is volunteering because their professional future depends on it. So there's a much bigger give back and a higher level of fidelity if you engage students as volunteers versus engaging folks who are already mature professionals. And the way I like to think about community building is like a community is people who are, you have the children, you have the babies, you have the aunties, the moms, the dads, the grandparents, and there's this collective wisdom and this collective contribution that every single phase of life has to offer. And so as a community builder, it's important for us to think about who in the community are we excluding or including in our efforts, and how is this contributing to creating a stronger thread of business. At the end of the day, we can't only have mature professionals doing everything. We can't only have startup founders doing everything or investors doing everything or mentors doing everything. There's a contribution at every stage and at every step. And so when you think about startup communities, and especially developing startup communities who are trying to get to that next level, that talent gap, that talent leak is one of the biggest issues that we need to overcome as a tech community. And I'm seeing incredible results personally as I engage student volunteers in the Fort Lauderdale Tech Meetup. And so I've started creating a pool of volunteers. I put them all in a WhatsApp. I said, hey, are you interested in volunteering? Yes. I add them to a WhatsApp because honestly, most of them are not checking their emails at ages 18, 19, 20. They're on WhatsApp, they're on their phones. It's the best way to communicate with them. And I created a pool where everybody gets put into that chat. And then as we have needs for each event every month, that need is dropped into that chat and everybody can raise their hand and respond to poll and say, I'm available. And then a new chat is created for that single event so that we can manage the day, when to arrive, responsibilities. And then whenever we have a new event, we, poll that group again and see who can attend and bring them into the event. And so the cool thing is that a lot of these students, beyond being incredibly grateful and I can't put into words enough how fulfilling that is for me as a community builder to see that it's adding so much value to the students, but also they're finding new opportunities. As they're checking people in and people read their name tag and it says student, they start asking them, oh, wow, you're a student. Where are you a student at? What are you studying? And those professional conversations start to unfold, and they're finding internships, they're networking, they're building relationships, they're creating a LinkedIn page, they're starting to understand the importance of having an email. So that's a really incredible opportunity, right? And I wanted to share that here as a chance for us to think further on how we can engage that population of people who they're students and they haven't heard of tech. So it's not about putting more money into accelerators and incubators that are based in colleges. Those are fantastic and needed. But how do we broaden our reach to attract more students in the tech community, including those students that know nothing about tech? And volunteering is an incredible door to bring them into our world and for us to get that help as well that we need as a community. So I hope this is helpful. I'd love to chat with you guys more about it. So if you have any questions or comments, definitely reach out. You can email me at hello@foundertactics.com or drop a note in the comments and we'll keep talking. See you then. That's all for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Until next time.